Test and profile health are different for men and for women. But if you look at them, a lot of them are exactly the same. Testosterone is the same. DHEA is the same. Estradiol is the same. Well, are you telling me that we have the same hormones in men and in women? Yes, we do. Well, how many hormones are there? Over 100. Okay? Well, why'd you pick these? Because these are the ones that will make the most or the largest impact on your life. These are the ones that if you're missing them and we replace them can make huge changes in quality of life. Well, is the testosterone the same for men and for women? Yes. And is estradiol the same for men and for women? Yeah. So why is it that men and women are different? If you look at a man, if you looked at the statue of David, remember the statue of David? Nice, built, and all the women go, ooh, you know? You look at the statue of David and you say, perfect man. Perfect legs, perfect arms, perfect pecs, perfect everything. That's the guy that would be the epitome of a male. If we check that statue's hormones, we would find that his testosterone to estrogen ratio is 40-1. That's the difference. We may have the same chemicals floating in our bodies, but the difference is the ratios that we have. Well, how about that beautiful woman? Where is she? She's this way. Same chemicals, but different ratios. The ratios of the hormones is what affects our well-being. Well, wait a minute. Let's think about this a little bit. Person is young. They start menstruating. They start making a lot of estrogen. As they make a lot of estrogen, what happens? Their breasts start to fill out. Their hips start to come out. All the secondary female characteristics start to show themselves. Why? Because of high amounts of estrogen. Now, little by little, less and less estrogen is made. I'll talk to some women and they say to me, it's gravity that lets them come down. It's not gravity, okay? It's the lack of estrogen that's there to support the tissue that makes them fall, okay? It's the same thing with the rest of the tissue all over the body. The lack of hormones that are there to support them, whether it's because of lack of exercise or the wrong food or whatever it may be, it's not there to support the tissue and the tissue seems to sag. Okay? Now that I got there to the beginning of menstruation, I might as well get there and start talking about something. And that is, how does this happen? How does this miracle of being able to become, or childbearing years start? There's a hormone that is released from the brain called follicle stimulating hormone. It goes down to the ovary and gets that ovary to start producing eggs. Okay? As it starts getting those follicles to produce eggs, one every month is picked to mature. The first time it received that message, 16,000 other follicles died. Now let me ask you right now, if I said to you I need a volunteer, a few of you would say, yeah, I volunteer. Some of you would say, please don't call me. Please don't, whatever you do, don't pick me. Okay? Well, what happens inside of a woman's body? She's getting a call. Calls go down the first month. We get the volunteers. The ones that are real happy to volunteer, they make a lot of estrogen, a lot of progesterone. The body starts to develop. Well, what happens after getting more and more volunteers? After 5 years, after 10 years, after 20 years of asking for volunteers? Who's left? The same people, like the people here, that when I first said I need a volunteer, are looking, please don't pick me. How well are they going to make estrogen? Not very well. How well are they going to make progesterone? Not very well. What happens? You're into perimenopause. And that's how we get into perimenopause. Men, we talk about testosterone and we say testosterone is what makes a man a man. You will lose about 2% of your testosterone, 1% to a binding globulin that steals it from your blood. Another percentage is lost through testicular atrophy, about 2% a year. So, if you do the math, you say, I'm 25, I'm losing 2% a year, 25 years, I've lost 50%. I'm half the man I used to be at 50 when I was at 25. Now, you know, the women will laugh at that, and the men will laugh at that too. But I gave this seminar once, and there was a woman sitting on that side, and she had come 3 or 4 times to the seminar, and finally she came once, and when she came, she brought her husband. And as she's sitting there with her husband just went, when I came to that part, he went, shh, and she started to cry. And I looked at her and I said, you know, afterwards, I couldn't wait to ask. I said, why did you cry? And he said, when I came to the part that I told people that at 50, You're half the man you used to be at 25. And you're 3 times more likely of committing suicide due to depression. He said, that's me. And she didn't know it. It's very important, the hormones. I'm going to tell you some things today about why men should be sensitive to women and what they're going through. And I'm going to tell you some things of why women should be sensitive to men. But when you come out of this, you're not going to be able to look at your spouses the same way. When you finish with this, you're not going to look at anybody the same way. Dr. Lee and I will go out and have a cup of coffee, and we'll sit there and go, oh, low estrogen, oh, low progesterone, oh, low testosterone. And we size everybody up, okay? We can help that person, okay? But it's because we're so used to it. We've gone, thousands of people have come in front of us, and we've talked to them already. So we see a lot of pattern recognition, as he says. DHEA. DHEA, for a long time, we didn't know what it was. We thought it was an intermediary hormone, okay? Not only us, but doctors themselves didn't know what it was. Now we find that it actually helps. It's 80% of all the hormones that are floating around in the blood. We find that it helps in multiple sclerosis, in fibromyalgia, okay, in systemic lupus erythematosus. If you're low on DHEA and we bring those levels back up to normal and you have those diseases, symptoms disappear. I didn't say we get rid of all of them, but a lot of them are attenuated. DHT. DHT is the dihydrotestosterone. It is what's responsible for our solar panels, guys, as we start to grow older. It's also what's responsible for the middle part of women as they start to get older and they start losing hair. We use it, we check it because, number one, it is important to facilitate a man's erection, okay? We just don't want too much of it compared to the other hormones, because then it'll also help or increase the rate of prostate cancer. Estradiol. Why would we check estradiol in a man? Because of the ratio. I'll tell you how important that ratio is. Man comes into the pharmacy, he's 22 years old. It happened a few years ago before we got really into the swing of things. And we had him check it in the blood, and we found out that his blood level of testosterone was 725. It should be between 800 and 1,000. But 725 is really not that low, okay? But his estradiol level was at 100. Guess what? He came to us with a major complaint. The major complaint was he was growing breasts. I sat with him and I said to you, and I ask you now, okay, if you all want to put yourselves in his position, you're a 22-year-old male and you're growing breasts. When you were 19, you were growing breasts. When you were 16, you were growing breasts. So what happened? You didn't take off your shirt when your friends took off their shirt. When everybody else went to the pool, okay, you went home and did your homework. And because of the high estrogen comes depression. Why? No progesterone to offset it, which I'll get into later, okay? But here he is. He came to me and goes, if you can't help me, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I didn't understand what he meant by that. But we went through the route and we looked at the hormones. He said, we really don't have that big a disparity. I mean, that much. We can't supplement them testosterone, okay? Because the problem is not he doesn't have enough testosterone. The problem is that he's converting his testosterone to estrogen. How do we stop that? Zinc. Zinc was low. We checked him. We found out that he had, in his nutrients, zinc was low. When we upped his level of zinc, and I always talk about this, at the time was $2.28 for a bottle of zinc, okay? He started to take it. In 3 months, he came back, and just like when estrogen is no longer in women, their breasts recede. Guess what happened to him? His breasts started to recede. Okay? Estrogen was down. We checked him again. His estrogen went up to 800, only 75 points. But his testosterone went up to 800, but his estrogen went from 100 down to 25. 40-to-1 ratio. Breasts recede. I talked to him and he goes, you know, you changed my life. You really, really helped me. And that was one of the clinchers that got me going in this. But when I talked to him, he goes, you know, I don't think you realize how much of a difference this made. Remember when I said to you, I don't know what I'm going to do? I said, yeah. He goes, I was contemplating suicide. I was that depressed about what was happening. And nobody knew it. Okay? These are important discussions that we're having. That when a woman is pregnant, the level of estriol goes through the roof. You know what I say to that? I said, well, what happens when we have a president? Do we put one Secret Service person around them, or do we put 50? We put 50. You know why? Because we want to protect our president. Well, here you have this one-cell baby that's going to change to umpteen different cells. And Mother Nature's own protectant is to raise progesterone and raise estriol. When we talk to some conventional doctors, they say, well, estriol doesn't do anything. It's not a strong estrogen at all. There's no need to give it as a supplement. And I say to that, neither does a bulletproof vest, until you get shot. And you're getting shot every day by the xenoestrogens, which are the plastics that we drink in the water that we drink, okay? That by the different types of pesticides that are out there that act like false estrogens and attach to those binding sites, and other countless chemicals that we are faced with every single day. Estriol protects a woman, and estriol will actually, I believe that one day, one of the cures for cancer will be estriol. I just can't prove it, okay? But estriol will help in finding the cure for cancer. If we look at this, by the way, 80% of what, at the minimum of anything,